It's week 3 of the AUDL season, and the New York Empire are heading up to Boston for the game of the week. These two teams know each other well, and it does serve as a bit of a homecoming for Jeff Babbitt, Ben Katz, Ryan Holmes, Ethan Fortin, Connor Fortin, Solomon rueschemeyer-bailey, Elliot, and Oliver Chartok. So basically half the Empire. For Boston, after a tough weekend in Canada with losses to Ottawa and Montreal, they should be back to about full strength instead of that skeleton crew that went up north of the border. And meanwhile, even though the Empire did beat the Philadelphia Phoenix in their home opener, this is a team with expectations hoping to get back to what they were in that championship caliber win over DC in week 1. At Hormel Stadium, I'm expecting a bit of a shootout, with both offenses trying to get back to what they know they can be. And I guess that's a little bit of oopsies because I gave away the main focus of this week's over-unders. There's a million Massachusetts guys on the Empire, but Jack Williams isn't one of them. There was also a ton of players that struggled against the Philadelphia Phoenix, but Jack Williams also wasn't one of those. Big Game Jack or Jack Attack, or whatever the Hickory, North Carolina native's nickname might be, he was sensational in the rain. 28 of 28 on his throws, 2 goals, 4 assists, and most importantly, a career-high tying 3 blocks, including an insane layout block. The number I'm focused on though is his +9, the best plus-minus he's had in 6 years. I doubt he'll reach that mark again, but I am going with the over here, +3. He had a season-best +8 against Raleigh, now Carolina, last season, hit a +5 twice, a +4 on 4 occasions, and +3 twice. Only once against Pittsburgh did he finish at an even 0. This season, it was a +2 in a quiet game against DC, and the aforementioned +9. I think this game will have the high scoring required to get Jack enough goals and assists to get to that +3, and a block would seal the deal. Also, and I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep being extremely biased until I'm black and green in the face, but I think Jack Williams is the best all-around ultimate player right now on the planet, and I think he's going to follow up Philly and show you why I might think that. We'll get back to the over-unders, but first, the Empire return home to take on the Toronto Rush on Saturday, May 21st. That's a 7 p.m. start at Joseph F. Facina Field. Get your tickets in advance, whether single tickets or the season pack, and make sure you're ready to go for what is a storied rivalry in the AUDL. On the Boston Glory side of things, up in Canada, they were missing Tanner Johnson and Orion Cable, but Ben Sadok was up there. He was doing his thing, and that's dealing. He may have struggled a bit, but he was making himself a threat in the backfield, upfield, something we saw a bit of last season, and I think we're going to continue to see more of this year with Willie Stewart and Tanner Johnson being able to handle some of those backfield duties. And him making himself an option upfield has already paid dividends for the Glory. So far this season, he's been over 100 receiving yards in all 3 games and over 250 throwing yards in all 3 games. So that's why I'm going over 400 total yards. Last year, the 2017 College Player of the Year with UMass Amherst had a steady diet of Ryan Dross, Sam Feder, and a few others defending him. And it'll be interesting to see what Charlie Hoppus and Anthony Nunez do with Dross, that's plural, unavailable, and Feder making his season debut. And speaking of diet, Sadok's plant-based diet should have fans rethinking their own choices, after seeing him grab yardage totals of 481, 475, and 501 this year so far. The Glory haven't faced a defense quite like the Empire's this year, so even though 400 seems a bit low for him, I wouldn't be too surprised if his total yardage is right around hovering around that number at the end of the game. Alright, let's actually give some love to one of the Massachusetts-born Empire players, that being Amherst's own Solomon rueschemeyer-bailey. Alongside second-year O-line player in John Lithio, Solomon rueschemeyer-bailey, judging from what we saw in Columbia, through DC and Philadelphia, has a much more expanded and confident role in the O-line. For those that watch the TEP, you now see a player that is penned in on that O-line for the Empire. Yes, he can play some D points, as we saw him do so often at Brown and last year in his rookie year for the Empire. He's also showing that he can use his long strides and long arms to create some havoc on defense, and then offensively can just pair in quite smoothly. He has been a bit more dynamic this season, with a block against both Philly and DC showing you his full repertoire this season. He filled up the stat sheet against Boston last year, 2 assists, 2 goals, and 1 block, but I still have to go under 2 assists against Boston. But Dan, I thought you said this would be a shootout. I did, but I think the primary assists are going to come a bit more from the deep ball this week. Last week, Osgar finished with 3 assists against Philly after 7 against DC, and I think he's going to rack them up in that category against Boston. Don't be surprised with Charles Weinberg having a big day too with assists. Last year's Soul's assist totals were 2 on 4 occasions and 1 and 0 on 5 occasions apiece. This season, it's 0 and 2, so going with 1 isn't that insane, right? And we're not counting hockey assists for this, because I'd slam the over on that one. Still, I have already gotten a little bit of heat for playing it safe with my line, so for my Week 3 final pick, that one could blow up in my face by the first quarter. So again, it's over +3 for Jack Williams, over 400 total yards for Ben Sadok, and under 2 assists for Solomon Rueschemeyer-Bailey. If you've got an opinion, and most AUDL fans do, either leave a comment, hit us up on Twitter or Instagram, and most importantly, enjoy the game.